Episode was aired last night. We all watched man lose to IBM's supercomputer question answering machine, Watson. Now, Ken Jennings even wrote, "I, for one, welcome our new computer overlords." It's an incredible step in artificial intelligence for a computer to understand, respond to the human natural language. And it could also be a scary one. How long until your job is replaced by Watson's offspring? Now, IBM's announced that they're already planning on creating a physician's assistant service where doctors can ask questions to a cybernetic assistant. They're also in discussion to create a version of Watson that would be able to interact with consumers on subjects like buying decisions and even technical support. So has a new computer age officially arrived? Well, joining me to discuss it is Chris Wilson, Associate Editor at Slate. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
This is kind of incredible, kind of demoralizing watching
I think
what just happened.
Yeah.
It was mostly exciting. Was there anything out there that really shocked you in watching this Watson versus man competition on Jeopardy?
Sure. The thing that shocked me really was that Jeopardy goes out of their way to make their questions kind of obtuse. You know, there's little puns, there's little bits of French mixed in that don't have anything to do with the clue. There's clues that are kind of compound where you have to name one thing and then figure out another thing. For example, there's a question, who was president when 60 Minutes debuted? So first you have to break it down, right? You have to figure out when did 60 Minutes debut? And then if you get that date right, then you got to figure out who was president then. And the fact that Watson can kind of deconstruct kind of complex questions into simpler ones and then put them back together is to me one of the more remarkable parts of what we saw.
But we also learned that Watson isn't perfect.
Of course
that
not.
he can make mistakes, like
Sure.
that whole Toronto answer,
Sure.
for U.S. cities. So I mean, is that kind of give us a little hope too that he's almost human? It's almost like he had a bit of personality.
Well, I have to say that I just moved apartments and got a new DSL service, and so I've been on. Spent about 13 hours in the last 2 days with the tech support, and I think I'd actually prefer to talk to Watson over some of those people. So, considering the rates of mistakes that they were making versus Watson, I'll actually take Watson.
Maybe it's not so bad. Well, do you think that, let's say, the average consumer, people like you and I, that now we're just not going to be satisfied with our laptops and our iPads and whatever we have now that we've seen what technology can really do? You want to know why better products aren't out on the market?
Possibly, but I mean, if you think about how many of the things that we do involve this kind of searching a huge amount of information, often text-based. The most obvious example being a Google search. That Google's amazing and we all use it and we all love it, but you still get a lot of responses that you don't want. Because particularly for kind of complicated questions, it's just hard to phrase what it is you're looking for. It's not so much Google's fault that it doesn't know where to find things. It's sort of both of our faults that we don't know how to talk to them. And so if we can sort of bridge that, and on whatever gadget I happen to be using, I can ask Google a question as though I'm Alex Trebek, and it can come up with the right answer, or at least lead me in the direction of the right answer. Then to me that's a huge step, and I'd be perfectly happy with various electronic devices.
How big of a step is this from, let's say, it was 14 years ago, right, that Garry Kasparov failed
Sure.
and lost to a machine in a chess game? And I mean, honestly, I would think that it wouldn't take 14 years for us to come up with a Watson. Is it moving slower than we imagined?
No, this is really interesting. That the whole field of game theory was founded by this mathematician named Johnny von Neumann, and he used poker actually as one of kind of the examples of how you could analyze games mathematically. Back then, they thought that the way you would make a computer that could beat a human at a game was to teach it to think like a human, but just not make any mistakes. So, when I play chess, I understand the rules, but I'm not very good at it, so I'm constantly making moves that are clearly not the best move I can make. But if you taught the computer the rules and you kind of taught it how it works, that turned out not to be at all the case with Deep Blue was the IBM computer that beat Garry Kasparov. That it was much more just kind of brute force, that I have so much processing power that I can analyze 200 million different possibilities and sort of figure out what the right one is. I can think a couple of steps ahead, and so in a way it was almost more of a hardware victory, that you had now the machinery capable of making all those calculations really fast, but and you know, there were complex algorithms
It wasn't
that went into
responding
it.
to what it is, right, that I might say or do. And you were saying that perhaps a three-person poker game might be the really crucial next step. How long till we might see that happen?
You see, there, I think we've moved beyond Deep Blue, we've moved beyond Watson, because those are programs that play the game really well, but they don't worry too much about their opponents. You know, basically with Jeopardy, I mean, there is some strategy involved, but the way you win is that you know all the answers, and you know more of the answers than your colleagues, and you can buzz in faster. With three-player poker, there's a whole different element of psychology that comes in.
There's the poker face.
Yeah,
you got to know how to read your opponent. So that'll be more of a behavioral step.
Exactly, and that's where you're going to have to bring in the behavioral scientists and the economists and the people who model behavior, not just strategy. You can teach a computer to play two-person limited, you know, bet limit hold'em pretty easily.
But not so
they can
much
beat everyone. But
well, I hope that they do expand soon. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Now, before we go tonight, it's time for our